What up, fam? We're going to be talking about a clip that is being shared by a butter company called The Jar on their Facebook page. It's a clip of Andrew Huberman, no less. He's talking, I think, to Lex Friedman about why butter is the most amazing thing to eat, like butter alone, like sticks of butter. I think he calls them pats of butter. I thought he called them packs of butter, but he eats like butter by itself. And here's why, according to him, you need to do that. Now, for some context before I continue, Huberman's a professor of neurobiology at Stanford, the School of Medicine at Stanford. He's a extremely well-known health influencer. He's grown faster than probably any health influencer to date, except for like the Liver King. So he's like the Liver King's biomedical counterpart in terms of his growth. Impeccable credentials and extraordinarily powerful speaking style and ability to communicate and convey information. Unfortunately, despite all of these things to say in favor of him, he also spreads rampant health misinformation, pseudoscience, and other things not based on the scientific literature, but based on his hypotheses and speculations, and sometimes even his own personal anecdotes, which he then makes to sound scientific. And here's a really perfect case of something like that. So the take-home message, the overall take-home message in some ways of this video is, just because somebody has great credentials, is very charismatic, sounds extremely intelligent, and is extremely intelligent, doesn't mean they're not conveying unreliable information. Most health influencers on the internet convey unreliable information because the more novel the information is that they convey, the more clicks they can get. So there's an inherent incentivization toward towards things that are fake, because those are the things that are going to be novel. Those are the things that are going to attract attention on the internet under a pay-per-click sort of model, which is the one we have because of social media. Okay, with that out of the way, we're going to talk about what he talks about with butter and how he eats butter by itself. Like, he takes spoonfuls of butter and eats it, and how he's going to justify this, and how this is dangerous stuff, and it's actually like thoroughly pseudoscientific. Let's go listen. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to try to make sure that the audio for this thing it's not going to be as good as it normally is. That's because I'm having trouble figuring out how to have the audio come from both the computer and from the headphones. It's a complicated issue, but yeah, if the audio quality suffers a little bit, I apologize. Let's go listen to this clip.
Without going into too much detail, I'll just point to a couple things that I do that, at least from my blood work and from my subjective experience, have been very beneficial for me that some of you might want to consider. First of all, I'm not shy about my love for butter. I will eat pats of butter directly.
Okay, so it says he eats packs of butter directly. I don't know if he says pats of butter, but the caption says packs of butter. I'm going to assume he eats sticks of butter. So he eats sticks of butter.
Without a cracker, I will eat butter without a cracker. Butter is high in cholesterol, so I don't eat a ton of it, but at least for me and for my lipid profiles, it's fine. Butter has cholesterol, which is a precursor to the sex steroid hormones, and men and women need testosterone and estrogen in order to feel good and to be able to think. You do not want your estrogen too low or your testosterone too low. So I eat butter in order to ensure that I get sufficient cholesterol. Butter also has some other things that are beneficial, various small fatty acids that are interesting in terms of their effects on metabolism, etc. You can look those up, the benefits of butter.
All right, and it just scrolled me to another page. But I want to point out, he eats packs of butter or pats of butter, maybe packs of butter, in order to promote testosterone, sex steroid synthesis. Okay, because butter is filled with cholesterol. That cholesterol in the butter it gets turned into sex steroids, namely testosterone. He does that for the health benefits. He's noticed in his blood work a benefit to doing that. Okay, that's insane. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's completely inconsistent with the data and also with some really important facts. First fact, we'll go through this point by point. Huberman injects testosterone. He's on testosterone replacement therapy. So every week or twice a week or 3 times a week, I think probably someone like Huberman would do it 2 or 3 times a week because of the way he views testosterone replacement therapy. And that's going to be a subject for another video because some of this stuff is also wrong. But he injects like 2 or 3 times a week testosterone into his muscles. He injects, and then it gets into the bloodstream and increases his testosterone to quite high levels, especially for his age. But that's a little bit beside the point. The point is he injects testosterone, and his testosterone is shut down as a result of that testosterone injection. So there's no way this butter is increasing his testosterone production because his gonads, his testicles, are no longer producing testosterone. There's no way butter is increasing the production of gonads that are not producing testosterone anymore. So I don't understand why he's saying that. Now, we know this from More Plates, More Dates podcast. This particular video is from July of 2021. And as you can see here, and then the More Plates, More Dates podcast is in October. So a few months apart. In the More Plates, More Dates podcast, he's very clear that he injects testosterone. It's with Derek, More Plates, More Dates. It's on YouTube. You can find it. He injects testosterone. So I don't understand why he's claiming here that he eats butter for the testosterone. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. The next thing, butter is relatively low in dietary cholesterol compared to other sources. So butter has like 1/7 of the cholesterol of an egg. So 1 tablespoon of butter has like 1/7 of the cholesterol of an egg, despite having a similar amount of fat, maybe even more fat and more calories, or a similar amount of calories per calorie. Butter has like 10%, nearly 10% the cholesterol that an egg has. It's actually relatively low in dietary cholesterol, so it's a really bad thing to be eating in order to increase the cholesterol levels to provide substrate for sex steroid production. It doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't he just eat an egg? Like for every 1 egg, that's like 7 tablespoons or 10 tablespoons of butter. It's like a stick of butter for 1 egg. Okay? You can just eat an egg. All right? Okay. But apart from that, even large changes in blood cholesterol levels, they don't affect testosterone production. Right? And even if he did get large changes in blood cholesterol levels, which don't affect testosterone production, but even if he did, that would mean that his blood work is actually showing bad effects. And if he's not getting any effects, this is the key point, if he's not getting any changes in his blood cholesterol levels as a result of eating butter, then how is the blood cholesterol fueling the sex steroid hormone production? Right? If there's no change in the concentration of cholesterol in the blood as a result of the dietary cholesterol he's taking in, which he's not taking in very much, but if he was, and if there's no change in the blood cholesterol, according to him, because his blood work is doing well, then how is that cholesterol even getting to the gonads to fuel sex steroid production? So it's a weird situation where if you have a high increase in blood cholesterol, yeah, you might get more sex steroid production from the gonads. But the downside of that is having high blood cholesterol. The other side of it is like if you have no increase in blood cholesterol, then how are you even getting increase in sex steroid production in the gonads? So either way, you end up losing. But that would be assuming that sex steroid production actually increases as a result of increases in blood cholesterol, which it doesn't. And so we're going to go over that real quick. So as I mentioned, Huberman told Derek on the More Plates, More Dates podcast that he's on testosterone replacement therapy. There's like an 18-minute clip that Derek put up where Huberman talks entirely about his testosterone replacement therapy regimen and how he experimented with it. And there's some problems with that thing. I can maybe talk about that later, but it's its own separate video. Okay, but in any case, there's 21 milligrams of cholesterol in butter versus 186 in a large egg. So actually, 9 times as much cholesterol in an egg. I misspoke. 9 times as much cholesterol in an egg compared to butter. Okay? And then there's this publication. The PMID is 2344851. Publication itself is called The Effect of Statins on Testosterone in Men and Women, a Systematic Review of Meta-Analysis of Randomized Controlled Trials. And the takeaway from this meta-analysis, and there's actually a commentary by, what's his name? By Schneiderman, which is an interesting commentary to read. It's an important one. But there's a commentary by Schneiderman. But the take-home message from this is even large decreases in blood cholesterol levels as a result of taking statin medications, like on the order of like halving your cholesterol, your blood cholesterol, even like massive decreases in blood cholesterol only result in, for men, about 3.4% mean testosterone reduction. 3.4%. So half your cholesterol, you have about an average of 3.4% reduction in testosterone production. It's not a clinically meaningful amount. So it's not, if you see an increase or a decrease in 3.4% of testosterone production, you're not going to notice anything in terms of your physical performance, in terms of your mood, etc. Even testosterone replacement therapy, by the way, can increase blood testosterone levels by quite a lot. Double them, triple them, quadruple them, but the effects on mood are actually quite subtle and minor compared to these really large changes in testosterone levels, like 5-fold, 10-fold changes. The effects on mood are actually quite modest. Now, that's not to say that they don't exist, they absolutely do, but and the randomized controlled trials very clearly demonstrate that, but the effects on mood are still subtle. And so if you're getting a 3.4% change in testosterone, you're not going to notice anything. Absolutely. So it's not a clinically meaningful change, even for a large increase in cholesterol. And he's not getting a large increase in cholesterol from this. As he says according to his blood work, he's not getting a large increase in cholesterol. So he can't possibly be getting a large increase in testosterone as a result of no increase in cholesterol. So his story doesn't even make any sense on like 50 levels, okay? Which is why it bothers me so much. It's like, if he just wanted to fact check this, just one aspect of the story, like one of like 5 or 8 or, multiple different levels, multiple different aspects of the story, if he just wanted to fact check any one of these, he'd realize the story doesn't make sense. There's like multiple different ways it falls apart. Which is frustrating because, again, he's a professor of medicine at the Stanford School of Medicine. It's or professor of neurobiology, but he's in the Stanford School of Medicine. He's a PhD. He's clearly extremely intelligent, so why is he saying these things to people? And he's on TRT in the first place, but he's saying cholesterol is helping his testosterone levels. It's a little suspicious. It's a little sketchy. And one of the takeaways from this video actually is, or slash podcast, whichever you're listening to, one of the takeaways is this, is you can't take a mechanism. So just because cholesterol is the substrate from which you produce testosterone, you can't take a mechanism and extrapolate from that mechanism to an outcome. So just because that biochemical mechanism exists, you can't speculate, therefore, that this outcome of increased testosterone production is also going to happen, even if he wasn't on testosterone replacement therapy, right? This is mechanistic speculation. You actually have to look at the outcome data. And Lane, he's on Instagram. He actually talks to Huberman for similar reasons about testosterone and alcohol. Huberman speculates based on the activation of aromatase enzyme that more ethanol ingestion will cause increase in estrogen levels and a decrease in testosterone. And Lane just goes through the research and shows that that's not true. And he says at the end, this is not a call out of Huberman. he is right regarding the mechanism, but I think we have a very different interpretation of how meaningful that mechanism is. It's not a different interpretation. It's like, you look at the outcome data, it's very clear. It's like, there's no question. You can't do science like by looking at mechanisms. It's not, that's pseudoscience. So much of Huberman's approach is pseudoscience. You have to actually look at like, okay, what actually happens when you do the experiment? Not what happens when you look at the mechanism, but what happens when you do the experiment. Mechanisms are easy because it allows you to make stuff up and generate ideas on social media and say things to the public and say things to people that get retweets and shares, etc. Because and you have a story and it's not hard to do, but you have to actually know the outcomes and the hard data, and that part is hard, which is why people tend not to do it. They tend to just focus on the mechanisms because it's easy to make your way to fame that way, but it's wrong. And so he says not a call out. I say this is a call out, man. We should call Huberman out. We should call Huberman out because a lot of this stuff is bullshit. And here's why, especially, here's why. Oh, I'm just bantering my buddies. Here's why. You look at this graph from a paper called, let's see the name, because I want to tell you guys what it's called. Cooking Oil Fat Consumption and the Deaths of Cardiometabolic Diseases and Other Causes. Prospective analysis of about 500,000 individuals. I'm not going to read the whole number because it's a bunch of digits. In this paper, you see very clearly, observationally, you replace butter with pretty much anything and you reduce mortality. Okay? Butter is the worst possible thing you can do if you want to live a long time. Eat more butter if you want to die earlier, according to this study. Eat more butter if you want to die early. I'm getting messaged. So, yeah, it's like, so he's basically like telling people they should eat butter for reasons that don't make any sense, and it's just going to cause people to raise their blood cholesterol levels, which is just going to raise the risk of cardiovascular disease and early death. It's pseudoscience. It's ridiculous. It's terrible. So, let's see what else we got. I got distracted from getting some messages. Yeah, so I said I'm even more disappointed in Huberman than I was before. Why would he say this? The audience get attention. It's just misleading, even dangerous on so many levels. To some of his followers now eat sticks of butter themselves. Ridiculous. Somebody said it's a pack of butter. It's not a pat of butter. But I thought I heard him say packs of butter. I don't know how much butter he eats, but you shouldn't be eating butter by itself. You shouldn't be trying to eat butter, going on your way to eat butter to increase your testosterone. The only thing you're going to increase is your LDL cholesterol and your risk of death. That's the only thing you're going to increase. Huberman's not a nutrition science expert. He's a very compelling speaker, but he's full of shit. And in this particular case, he's dangerously full of shit. This goes against the worldwide dietary guidelines. You don't want to eat a bunch of butter by itself. It's absurd and wrong. Yeah, so I'm going to keep calling this stuff out. If you guys like this video, I'm going to do cold exposure again next, and then a bunch of other things. If you like this video, check out my Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon at Kevin Bass. That's KevinnBass. Check out my podcast at The Kevin Bass Show, or check me out on YouTube at Kevin Bass, obviously. Yeah, and then also check out my website at the.wars.com. Check out how to support me, the.wars.com/support-me. And like this video, share it around, share it on social media, share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, etc. Make sure, if you're listening to the podcast on a regular basis, to give me a review or a rating, preferably both, and preferably a review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That would be much appreciated. Hope you guys liked the video. We're going to keep doing this. Peace out, guys. I'm here with my lovely assistant to do an outro to this video. I actually need to make an addendum. And she's the production manager. She just had a strawberry ice cream and is suffering the aftermath. So But the specific addendum for this is I want to explain if blood cholesterol doesn't affect testosterone levels, how is that? Because cholesterol is a precursor to testosterone in the gonads. So how does blood cholesterol not affect testosterone production in the gonads? And the answer is that testosterone is produced endogenously in the gonads. It doesn't require testosterone from the circulation. And all cells produce cholesterol. So cholesterol is produced in large amounts in the Leydig cells that produce testosterone in the testes. And that's why testosterone in the blood is not important for testosterone production in the testes. I just wanted to add that extra fact because some people might be curious about that. It sort of wraps everything up. How's that sound? Good?
But what did you say?
She doesn't know what I said. Do you guys know what I said? Do you know what I said? All right, well, hopefully you guys caught that, even if she didn't. So she's okay. See you. Bye bye.